Let's revise mergers and acquisitions quickly, guys. The very first thing that we have learned here was the definition of the word merger and the definition of the word acquisition. Theoretically speaking, but there's a difference between the word merger and acquisition. We use the word merger when the intention is to come together and collectively run the operations. That is where we use merger. We use the word acquisition as such, guys, where the intention is to take over control from an existing class of shareholders. That is how better there's a difference between the word merger and acquisition. This is not exactly the same as accounting for amalgamation as per AS 14 beta. Yahan pe it does not matter whether you're only acquiring shares in other company or whether you are liquidating the other company. As long as it is an acquisition of another business, it will be termed as a merger and acquisition. Just if Zomato is acquiring Blinkit as such beta, they did not liquidate Blinkit. The company still continued in the form of Blinkit. That is not amalgamation as per accounting standard 14, but that is still a merger and acquisition as such beta as per this chapter. So under this, guys, we first did what are the reasons for mergers and acquisitions. The most common reason as such, guys, for merger is to create synergy gains. If there are industries that are into similar lines of operations as such, guys, they can heavily reduce their administrative costs. They can use their distribution networks as such, guys, for distributing the products, which is going to reduce their overall cost. Or they can also create a higher market share as such beta for their products. Just say Vistara is merging as such, guys, their operations with Air India. The reason is very simple. They want to reduce their operational cost. Running different airline companies as such beta will involve different branding, different expenditures as such, guys, at the airports. But if they create a single entity as such beta, there will be synergy gains. They can reduce their operational cost. So the primary reason as such, guys, for merger and acquisition is synergy gain. Iske alawa as such beta is said that an organization can grow either through organic ways or inorganic ways. Organic growth as such beta is wherein you increase the output of your product as such, guys, keep increasing your revenues year after year, keep increasing your profitability year after year. Inorganic growth as such, guys, is by acquiring others. So a lot of bigger entities as such, guys, in order to continue to grow as such beta, they will keep acquiring smaller entities as such, guys. That is inorganic growth. Tax savings can also be one of the reasons for mergers and acquisitions, but that cannot be shown on paper that you're literally merging with another entity as such, guys, only for the purpose of tax savings. This arises where an existing profit-making company acquires a loss-making entity so that the losses of that as such beta can be carried forward for another 8 years and set off against the profits of this company. And then beta, reducing risk is basically beta if you are heavily dependent on one product line and you do not want to take that risk as such, guys, you start diversifying, you start entering into multiple product lines so that you diversify your entire risk. This will be for those entities that are dependent on one product. What ITC is doing as such beta, majority of their revenues are coming only from cigarettes earlier, tobacco products. They've heavily diversified as such, guys, into other FMCG products. It is contributing a lot to the overall revenue of the organization. That is how they are reducing the risk of the overall entity. The last one beta is to avoid competition. This was what Vodafone as such, guys, and Idea did. It was not to avoid competition, but to create a entity that is strong enough to survive against the other major players in the market. What Uber was doing in international markets as such, guys, was to kill competition. Uber was acquiring a company called as Grab. I'm not sure if you've heard about it. Grab is very famous, guys, in the southern Asian countries. You go to Singapore, you go to Indonesia, everywhere you will only find Grab. Uber acquired Grab and then they wanted to liquidate Grab so that there's only one entity that remains as such beta, and that is Uber. But then local competition laws as such beta did not approve of that, and that is why they were not able to do it. So you cannot show beta that a merger is in order to kill competition. Just say India mein you'll have Competition Commission of India that will take care. So subject to a specific threshold, you will learn that later beta, शायद CA final में कभी तो भी वो threshold cross हुआ तो ही Competition Commission as such beta will have their say. Every small merger, Competition Commission cannot interfere. So these are the basic reasons for merger, guys. After that beta, we did types of mergers. Types of merger mein beta, the first one is horizontal merger. Horizontal merger arises when you're acquiring a similar line of business. So if you're acquiring the same business as such beta from someone else, जैसे अभी Ultratech Cement as such, guys, is acquiring another cement entity, Northeast का Star Cement, that will become a horizontal merger. Vertical merger as such beta is backward or forward integration. You either acquire as such, guys, your supplier as such, guys, output related or input related. If it is input related beta, we say that it is backward integration. If it is output related, it is forward integration. Reverse merger as such beta is where a smaller entity acquires a larger entity. Reverse merger as such, guys, is basically done in order to reduce regulatory requirements. If the smaller entity as such beta is something that is already listed It will not be possible for a larger entity as such, guys, to acquire a smaller entity. What the larger entity as such beta will do is merge itself with the smaller entity. So it is also known as backdoor listing. I spoke about the concept of special purpose acquisition company in US, SPAC. I said SPAC is wherein you first raise money from the investors without telling them for what. They will tell you that you will use this money to acquire some business. So startups as such beta will get acquired by an SPAC, and indirectly the startup gets listed on the stock exchanges. They are given a time frame of 2 years. If you do not use that money, you will have to refund. India mein nahi chalta wo, because India mein you cannot get yourself listed only as such beta if you do not have commencement of business. Companies Act does not permit as such beta the concept of SPAC. So we do not have special purpose. For any company to get listed beta, there should be a profitability track record and everything. So without that beta, it is not possible for yourself to get listed. Then beta conglomerate merger. Conglomerate merger mein beta we said that they are unrelated businesses, and then co-generic merger beta or con-generic merger mein it is unrelated business, but then you're related as such beta by your production process or technologies as such, guys. So if at least those factors are common as such beta, then you can use this. Just say if a stockbroker as such, guys, is getting into insurance business, because the way you are going to market your product as such, guys, is going to be similar. It will be termed as con-generic merger. It's not the same line of business. It are different lines of businesses, but then they're related by those synergies. Are we clear beta? Now, talking about the consideration, guys, whenever one entity as such, guys, is acquired by another entity, consideration can be in the form of cash, consideration can be in the form of shares. Majority of the questions that you have done in the class as such, guys, was consideration in the form of equity shares. So if consideration as such, guys, is in the form of cash, you will have to see, whenever, guys, a merger is happening, you will have to see what is the impact on earnings of the company, what is the impact on the wealth of the company. These are the two factors that we have to keep in mind. Pura ka pura chapter is from the viewpoint of impact on earnings, impact on wealth. So if consideration is in the form of cash, a company may either have surplus cash that is being given to them, or a company beta may borrow money. If a company as such, guys, has surplus cash, the combined earnings of the entity, just like guys, say if there is A Limited, there is B Limited. A Limited has an earnings of 100 lakhs, B Limited has an earnings of 80 lakhs. The combined earnings of the entity beta will become 100 lakhs plus 80 lakhs minus opportunity cost of that surplus funds given. You will have to take net of taxes here. Combined earnings beta will be, because if you're using your surplus funds, but obvious beta those surplus funds might have been invested somewhere. So you will have to consider that opportunity cost. But if you are borrowing money, guys, for cash consideration, combined earnings beta will be 100 lakhs minus plus 80 lakhs minus your annual borrowing cost. There were 1 or 2 questions beta in which they said that you are borrowing money to acquire an other company. So combined earnings will be earnings of standalone entities minus whatever as such, guys, is the amount of borrowing cost. Are we clear? This is if there is no synergy gain. If they give us synergy gain, please add synergy gain also, guys, in terms of earnings. If they tell you that the combined earnings of the entity will increase by 20 lakhs, you should add that 20 lakhs also. So this is how you will be arriving at earnings of the merged entity, guys. In case what is paid? Cash consideration is paid. One part beta about cash consideration is that the number of equity shares are not going to change. If there are 10 lakh shares outstanding with A Limited, 5 lakh shares outstanding with B Limited, post acquisition number of shares will remain at 10 lakhs. Why will the number of shares remain at 10 lakhs? Because consideration is being given only in the form of cash. How will you arrive at EPS of merged entity? EPS of merged entity beta will be whatever are your total earnings divided by shares of A Limited, because again consideration is only in the form of cash. Are we clear? Once you do this, they will give you details of PE ratio as such, guys, or they will tell you that the market value of the merged entity will be equal to market value of standalone entities. You will have to accordingly arrive at market price per share. Are we clear, guys? You will have to arrive at market price per share. After that beta, in case they ask us to compute gain or loss, this is all for cash consideration. Do not forget, I'm covering cash consideration first, then I will come to equity shares. If they ask us to compute loss or gain beta to the class of shareholders, for A Limited, guys, it will be post merger market price per share minus pre-merger market price per share. This will be gain or loss per share. Once they compute gain or loss per share, you can multiply by total number of shares beta, and that itself will become total gain to the shareholders of A Limited. For B Limited, you will directly compare cash consideration with pre-merger market price. Imagine this is for cash consideration, this is not for equity shares. Imagine that their standalone value beta was 20 rupees per share, but then you gave them 22 rupees cash consideration. So they're directly making a gain of 2 rupees. Are we clear about this? This is if they ask us to compute gain or loss to the shareholders of both the entities, guys. By default, gain or loss will be in terms of market value, not in terms of earnings. If they ask us to compute gain or loss in terms of earnings, you will have to compare post-merger EPS with pre-merger EPS. This will be done only for A Limited shareholders. It cannot be done for B Limited because consideration is in the form of cash. You will be computing gain or loss in terms of earnings, guys, for the other entity if and only if consideration is in the form of equity shares. So ये हो गया first part, cash consideration. What should you remember here? Earnings of the merged entity will be equal to earnings of standalone entity plus synergy gain if given in the question. Usually there will not be any synergy gain in terms of earnings, minus either opportunity cost or borrowing cost. Number of shares will remain same. Compute post-merger EPS and then arrive at gain or loss to both the class of shareholders in terms of market price, in terms of earnings. ये हो गया cash consideration. Whenever there is consideration in the form of equity shares, the first thing that we should know better is exchange ratio. If at all there is consideration, guys, in the form of equity shares, we will have to arrive at exchange ratio. Exchange ratio beta is how many shares are you going to issue of purchasing company to acquire every share of selling company. To settle them against one share, how many shares are you going to issue? जैसे HDFC Limited, HDFC Bank का जब merger हुआ था, the ratio was 42:25 approximately. That means for every 25 shares of HDFC Limited, 42 shares of HDFC Bank were issued. But obvious for regulatory requirements, HDFC Limited got merged with HDFC Bank because who has the banking license here? HDFC Bank, and it is not easy to obtain banking license. So that is why NBFC got merged with bank. So exchange ratio is this. Whenever we are computing exchange ratio, it can be based on book value, it can be based on market price, it can be based on earnings per share or any other factor that is given. Always remember, target company comes in the numerator, acquiring company comes in the denominator. So when you write 42:25, guys, student gets confused here. They're like, sir, we are issuing 42 shares of HDFC Bank for 25 shares of HDFC Limited. So are we not writing HDFC Bank by HDFC Limited? You write HDFC Limited by HDFC Bank, but you interpret it the other way around. जैसे अगर market price per share bet of target company is 3,000, acquiring company is 1,500. You will write 3,000 by 1,500. The ratio will be, that means for every one share of 3,000 rupees, you are going to issue 2 shares of 1,500 rupees. You always write target in the numerator and you will write acquiring company in the denominator. This is where beta we will cover one point that we have covered in the last question. There were two banks that were merging. To arrive at exchange ratio, they took multiple factors into consideration. One of the factors was gross NPA. I said NPA is an adverse factor. Because NPA is an adverse factor, to arrive at exchange ratio based on NPA, you will write acquiring company divided by target company. That will come only for which factor? Adverse factor. Something which is not favorable for the performance of the organization. There I will write acquiring company divided by target company. So to arrive at exchange ratio, guys, again, it will be target divided by acquiring company. Usually there will only be one factor, but there were about 7-8 questions in which beta they gave us all the three factors into consideration and they gave us corresponding weights. If they give us corresponding weights, how will you arrive at weighted average exchange ratio or swap ratio? Weights multiplied by individual exchange ratios. Do not take individual values and multiply. And they put, say, for example, beta, book value is 40 and 100. Is the acquiring company, the target company. Let us say market price per share as such beta is 100 rupees and 200 rupees. You first compute exchange ratio based on this. And then multiply by weights. Please do not take weights into 100 rupees, weights into 200 rupees. It will be incorrect. Arrive at exchange ratio based on each factor and then multiply by weights. That is how beta you are going to arrive at your weighted average exchange ratio. Are we clear? Once we get weighted average exchange ratio as such beta, you will have to arrive at how many shares are required to be issued. That will determine what will be the number of shares outstanding in the merged entity. unless otherwise given, earnings of the merged entity beta will simply be equal to earnings of standalone entities. If there is no synergy gain given, there will not be any borrowing cost, there will not be any opportunity cost here. So to arrive at EPS of the merged entity, what will you do? Whatever are the, say for example, earnings here are 100 lakhs, earnings here are 80 lakhs. So this earnings will become 180 lakhs. Let us say beta number of shares are 10 lakh, 5 lakhs, but we issued 2.5 lakh shares. So here you will have 12.5 lakh shares. You will arrive at EPS of the merged entity by dividing 180 lakhs by 12.5 lakhs. That will give us EPS of the merged entity. Every question they will specify, guys, as to what is the P ratio of the merged entity. In majority of the questions they gave a note that P ratio of the merged entity is exactly the same as P ratio of acquiring company. I said this does not apply in reality. Imagine if the P ratio of first entity is 20 times, P ratio of second entity is 5 times. They will tell us beta that P ratio of merged entity will be 20 times. This does not apply in real life. Are we clear beta? But because of this only in all our questions there was gain in terms of wealth. Though there is no synergy gain in terms of earnings, the earnings of the target company also beta got multiplied by a higher PE ratio because you're multiplying them. Just say if you look at standalone value beta, it will be 100 lakhs into 20, 2000 lakhs. Earnings 80 lakhs into 5 times, it will be 400 lakhs. But merged entity, it will become 180 lakhs into 20 times, 3600 lakhs. Are we clear? There were 1 or 2 questions in which they gave us beta true market value of the merged entity. There you cannot write earnings into P ratio. If market value of the merged entity is already given as such, guys, you will have to consider that market value only. When will you do all of this? If the question says P ratio of acquiring company will continue to apply to P ratio of the merged entity. Are we clear? How do we compute gain or loss to both the class of shareholders? Perfect. This is where beta you will have post-merger effective market price per share. Why are we using the word effective market price per share? Number of shares pre-merger, post-merger does not remain same for target company. Are we clear? Say for example, post-merger market price per share is 400 rupees. You will directly write 400 for A Limited. But for B Limited, you will write 400 rupees multiplied by exchange ratio, swap ratio. You cannot directly compare, guys, pre-merger and post-merger value. You have to also consider number of shares. Why are we not doing this for acquiring company? The number of shares beta for acquiring company will remain same before and after merger. Because the number of shares are remaining constant, you do not have to worry about as such, guys. What are the impact on valuation? So for B Limited, you will have to multiply by post-merger exchange ratio. You will compare this with what, guys? Pre-merger effective market price per share. When you're comparing with pre-merger effective market price per share, you will get gain or loss per share. The same thing has to be done, guys, even for EPS. Even for EPS, you will take post-merger earnings per share, guys, and multiply that by what? Exchange ratio. That is only for target company, guys. But let it be EPS, let it be MPS. By default, when they ask us to compute gain or loss as such, guys, are you supposed to do it in terms of wealth or are you supposed to do it in terms of EPS? In terms of wealth, market price per share. Agar question mein bol raha hai compute gain or loss as such, guys, you will have to always compute it in terms of wealth. Now, in case the question tells us beta to arrive at an exchange ratio such that the earnings of the shareholders do not diminish. The earnings of the, that means no one should gain or lose beta on account of earnings per share. I told you beta if there is no synergy gain in terms of earnings, the gain made by one class of shareholder will be equal to loss made by the other class of shareholders. This need not happen for wealth, guys. Why shouldn't it happen for wealth? Because of higher P ratio as such, beta, the market value of the merged entity can increase. If the market value of the merged entity is increasing, both the class of shareholders can gain. It cannot happen for earnings. So exchange ratio, guys, if the earnings should not diminish, should be directly based on EPS. You will simply write EPS of target entity divided by EPS of acquiring company. This should be the exchange ratio if you do not want beta earnings to diminish. After this, guys, we did the concept of maximum consideration and minimum consideration. Alright. Imagine, guys, that the standalone, handwriting chodo beta, jo bol raha us pe dhyan do. Maximum and minimum consideration. Imagine beta that the value of A Limited is 1000 lakhs, value of B Limited is 200 lakhs, and value of merged entity as such, guys, is 1350 lakhs. Alright. So standalone beta, we have values of 1000 and 200. Merged entity has a value of 1350 lakhs. Now, Minimum consideration, guys, will be from the perspective of B Limited. B Limited shareholders will not accept any value less than 200 lakhs because their standalone value is already 200 lakhs. A Limited as such, guys, will not offer anything more than 350 lakhs. They will not want their value to go below 1000 lakhs. If they do not want their value to go below 1000 lakhs, they should not offer a consideration of more than 350 lakhs. If they offer anything more than 350 lakhs, beta, they will lose. So minimum consideration will become how much? Minimum is always standalone value of target entity. Maximum consideration, guys, will be standalone value of target company plus synergy gain. The entire synergy gain in terms of wealth. Standalone value of target plus synergy gain. तो अपने example में बेटा यहाँ पे minimum consideration is 200 lakhs, maximum consideration is 350 lakhs. In reality, the actual consideration will be somewhere between 200 and 350 lakhs. It will depend on how do they want to share that synergy gain. It is usually the acquiring company that ends up retaining a higher synergy gain because they are the ones who will have an upper hand. They are the ones who will contribute more to the growth of the entity. So this is how you will determine minimum and maximum consideration. अब ये हुआ नहीं बेटा, यहाँ पे you will have to determine जैसे how many shares are issued, number of shares issued into post merger market price will become that 200 lakhs or 300, 350 lakhs. Accordingly, you will have to compute how many shares have been issued. Mergers is a chapter as such, beta, which you cannot directly revise like this because every question is slightly different. You will have to end up solving each and every question. यहाँ पे beta, this is only the concept that this is minimum consideration and this is maximum consideration. What will be the actual requirement beta there? Compute exchange ratio, minimum exchange ratio and maximum exchange ratio. To get exchange ratio, you should know how many shares have been issued. To get number of shares issued, beta, you will take, if you recall beta, we took number of shares to be issued as X. X is equal to merged value say 1350 lakhs hai, divided by how many shares A Limited has and how many shares did we issue. A Limited ke paas whatever are the shares plus whatever shares that we issued, will they become total number of shares outstanding? 1350 lakhs divided by total number of shares outstanding, will that become post merger market price per share? That post merger market price per share into X number of shares as such, guys, will become value of target company shareholders. This you will either equate to 200 lakhs or you will equate to 350 lakhs. If you equate to 200 lakhs, you will get minimum number of shares. If you equate to 350 lakhs, you will get maximum number of shares. Now at this point, beta, there was another question in which they've asked us to compute minimum consideration acceptable to the management of a company. The promoters of a company, guys, are not only losing in terms of market price, they're also losing that excess consideration, salaries that they're withdrawing. There was this question, beta, in which they told us that the promoters were paid higher consideration, which is not going to possible. So minimum consideration, beta, acceptable to the promoters will be whatever is the standalone value, जो भी उनका standalone value है, plus loss of excess consideration also, salaries. They'll say that we want salaries also. But then remember, this loss of salaries beta should only be divided by shares held by promoters. You cannot divide this by total number of shares because this is their loss. ये जो question था बेटा उसमें total 10 lakh shares थे, शायद promoters were holding 4 lakh or 4 lakh 80,000 shares, 40%. So whatever is the loss of consideration, you should divide only by 4 lakh shares. But this is minimum consideration only from the viewpoint of promoters, management as such, guys. After this beta we also did the समझ में आ गया यहाँ तक? After this beta we did the concept of value of acquisition. Value of acquisition as such, guys, is basically the total increase in the value of acquiring company. Total increase in value of acquiring company if you want, guys. Total increase in the value of acquiring company on account of acquisition. So you're going to write value of acquisition, guys, as value of value of acquisition as value post merger total minus value of standalone acquiring company. अभी ऊपर वाला example, if you recall beta, value of standalone acquiring company was 1000 lakhs. Value of merged entity was 1350 lakhs. The total increase in value, guys, will become 350 lakhs. The total increase in value on account of merger. This is not the gain made by anyone. We are just talking about the increase in market value on account of acquisition. Standalone value was 1000 lakhs. Post merger value was 1350 lakhs. So the total increase beta will become 350 lakhs. This can alternatively be written as standalone value of target entity plus synergy gain. Standalone value of target plus synergy gain. Same example beta, standalone value of target company was 200 lakhs, synergy gain was 150 lakhs, total amount will become 350 lakhs. This will beta become the total increase in the value. Isko kya bolte hai? Value of acquisition. After this beta we did cost of acquisition. Cost of acquisition guys should always be in terms of post merger value. There were 2-3 questions in which continuously beta they use the word cost of acquisition in terms of post merger. So this is basically beta whatever is the consideration paid, value of consideration given minus standalone value of target entity. But this value of consideration should not be in terms of pre-merger value. It should be in terms of post-merger value. Imagine beta that in the above example, we are giving them a consideration of 280 lakhs. Their standalone value is 200 lakhs. So the cost of acquisition beta will become 80 lakhs. Cost of acquisition is always computed in terms of post-merger values. It is never computed in terms of pre-merger value. You should remember the word value of acquisition. You should remember cost of acquisition. Mandatory. Are we clear, guys? If at all they ask us to compute how will the gains be distributed, guys, please do not divide gains in the ratio of exchange. Divide post-merger value in the ratio of number of shares held. You can never directly divide gain. 150 lakhs cannot be divided. 1350 lakhs you will divide and then compare with pre-merger values. Directly divide. If you're directly dividing gain, you're telling me no matter what happens, both the class of shareholders will gain. Is there a possibility that one gains more than the amount of synergy? The other class of shareholders can lose. So you should always divide post-merger market value beta, that is 1350 lakhs, and then after that beta compare with pre-merger values. Are we clear about this, guys? तो ये हो गया पूरा practical part बेटा. इसके अलावा there was a little theory part as such, guys. जैसे just give me 1 second बेटा, I'll finish this. But do not forget बेटा, as I said, the only way of revising this as such, guys, is to solve all the questions. Ownership restructuring में बेटा, the first one was going private. Going private is very simple beta. It is basically converting a listed entity into unlisted entities. Where you think beta that you do not need access to external capital, you have sufficient amount of inflows generated, and you do not want those stringent regulations on you as such beta being a listed entity. This is where beta an entity may decide to get itself into unlisted entity. What is a management buyout? The management of the organization itself as such, guys, is giving an offer as such beta to the owners of the company that they would want to purchase the company. I told you beta example of this was Jet Airways, wherein जब वो insolvency में गया था, the management as such, guys, it tied up with an external investor and then they were offering as such, guys. Leverage buyout as such, guys, is basically where an entity is buying out another company but by borrowing money. I gave you example of Tata Motors acquiring JLR beta, that was using debt, or Airtel acquiring Zain Technologies, even that was using debt. Whatever money that we have to pay to the other company beta, we are borrowing that. Equity buyback as such beta we've already done. I said equity buyback के questions are also important under mergers and acquisitions. The objective of buying back equity shares beta will be where a firm has sufficient amount of earnings generated. They do not want to declare a higher amount of dividend, because once you declare higher amount of dividend, you will have to retain that higher dividend every year. So you're distributing cash to the shareholders in the form of buyback. Advantage of buyback beta is that it reduces the total number of shares outstanding in the market. So this can increase the promoters holding. It will increase EPS. It will also increase MPS. I said Apple beta has undertaken buyback worth $500 billion over the last couple of years. For them, because it is already such financially matured company as such beta, if they still want to increase EPS, they will do it by keep reducing the number of shares that are existing in the market. Unlocking value, premium and discount as such, guys. Mergers and acquisitions fail क्यों होते? You end up paying way too much. Yeah, this was very important beta. Divestiture. So that is basically better when you want to sell off your division. इसमें if you remember, guys, the different forms. The first one is sell off. Sell off मतलब क्या है? You selling off your division as such, guys, to another entity, like how GSK sold their Indian operations to HUL. For them it is a sell off. Why will you want to undertake that? You do not want to remain invested as such, guys. Core business पे concentrate करना है बोल के बेटा, you are giving it off. Are we clear? Spin off क्या है बेटा? What ITC is doing as such beta now? ITC is creating ITC hotels as such, guys, as a separate entity. What is the difference between spin-off and equity carve-out? Equity carve-out is also creating a separate entity, guys, but then along with creating a separate entity, you're also going to raise money by issue of shares. अब जैसे कल news में था बेटा that Jio will get listed as such. Jio is already a separate subsidiary. Jio will get listed बोल के news में था. They're planning an IPO of 40,000 crore rupees. ठीक है, literally who is the owner of Jio as such beta? Reliance Industries. But then here they will be creating an independent entity as such guys, and that independent entity as such beta will also raise money for funding their operations. Split up kya hai beta? If your company is into multiple businesses guys, you are creating separate businesses as such guys, separate entities for each business line. Demerger or division of family managed business guys, yahan pe it was totally different guys. It was all about understanding as such beta as to who should be given control of which operation as such guys, or bringing in professional management as such guys to run the operations. All right beta, so this is what is there guys. Do not forget that you still have to go through all the problems. All right, true cost of merger abhi wahi to padha hai na beta. Cost of merger as such guys is nothing but cost of acquisition guys, post merger value minus consideration paid. That's it. All right beta, ending the session. Thank you guys.